Hello, everybody. This is Vivian Xavier, and this is another edition of Cinego discussions. We're talking to Amy Farjado today. She's a composer, a sound designer, and a filmmaker as well. She had one of our films in our festivals, and it was called Caza. Brilliant short film, and I hope you had a chance to watch it. We will be talking a little bit about that, but generally about music and how that leads to music in film. So it's going to be an entertaining and insightful discussion. And without further ado, I'm going to start talking to Amy. Hey, Amy, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Oh, the pleasure is mine. So we'll just get started with if you can give a little bit about yourself and how you ended up going to Berklee, because that's where you studied music.
Yes, I
Okay,
did.
and yeah, just you can take it away from there.
Okay, great. Well, my name is Amy Fajardo. I was born and raised in Bogota, Colombia. Um, I guess music was always a part of my life. I can't lie. I wanted to be a singer and performer ever since I was 3 or 4. They would catch me, performing and doing little acts here and there. But I was not so sure that I wanted to pursue music as a career. I've always been curious about so many things like genetics, medicine, neurology, physics. I just loved everything. I was so curious about everything. But then I guess when it comes to deciding what you really want to do, when you have a passion for something that's artistic, I guess it's really hard to just do something that is not artistic, that is not gonna help you express that part of yourself. So I think that's what really made me choose to go to Berklee. I had an amazingly supportive family. They just supported me all the way ever since the beginning, and I just decided to audition for Berklee. I thought, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to try to do it and study in the best school I can think of, and that was Berklee. And I was super lucky to just go there.
So, I know that you were the leader of the orchestra over there, right?
Yeah, the
You were
conductor, the assistant conductor.
okay. So you were the assistant conductor, and you studied composition, right?
I studied specifically film scoring,
Okay.
which is music composition for film. So you study all the techniques of music specifically for, to support the drama and support a story. That's what I studied. And I studied orchestral conducting because, in film scoring sessions, we have to conduct the orchestra. I mean, we don't have to, but it's best if you do. So that's why I also studied orchestral conducting, and I auditioned to become the assistant conductor of the Berklee Contemporary Symphony Orchestra. And the conductor was Maestro Noya, Francisco Noya.
Okay.
And I was one of the assistant conductors. I was appointed the assistant conductor for 2 consecutive years. And
Wow.
it was amazing. It just, you learn so much just standing in front of an orchestra when I think I was 19.
Oh, okay.
19 or 20, can't remember, but I mean, that's just an unbelievable experience.
Yeah, at that age, to get that experience and
Yes,
then to be able to take it forward.
yes, especially because I didn't go to a conservatory. I didn't go that path. So for me, it was like the first time I was able to, experience that orchestra life, and I loved it. I really loved it.
Okay, I'm glad that you brought up, the fact that you didn't go to a conservatory. But can you tell us? That's something that it's a learning point for me as well. So what's the difference between a conservatory and like a school like Berklee, and how do they differ, and what was your biggest takeaway from Berklee, in terms of
Well,
experience?
um, I talk from my experience, obviously, since I didn't go to a conservatory. I guess to go to a conservatory and have the complete education, it's not really a decision you make. Your parents are the ones who have to make it for you, because you have to go to conservatory and start the conservatory studies when you're super young. I think it's 7 or 8 that you can you start. And I guess just my parents didn't, for some reason, I don't really know why, they didn't think of that, of, a conservatory lifestyle for me. Maybe they just didn't know that it was a thing to do. So I had private piano lessons, I had private violin lessons, singing lessons, but it was all private. So it's very different. You don't go, it's not as fast paced, because the teacher adapts to you. So that's different. And Berklee was, for me, the place where I was gonna be able to get that experience, no matter my age or anything. They just audition you, and I don't know what it is they look for when they audition people, but I guess they just thought I was, I could study there, I could go there, and they gave me a scholarship to go there, and that just made it way easier for me to go down that path.
No, I can certainly understand that, the bit about getting scholarship and going to a world-class school like that, because it's not easy, especially when you have to move and you got to pay school fees and you got to pay, living expenses and all of that.
Yeah, especially with the currency change. It's just...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. From Colombia, it's like, it was 3 times more expensive. Something. I don't remember exactly, but it was just way too much. So I'm super grateful for having that scholarship, and for my mom, who supported me, with the living expenses and everything.
Wow. Yeah, it certainly does take the burden off, and especially for something, in the arts, where you're you're studying in the class, but the studies never really stop. They go with you wherever you go, wherever you are. And
absolutely,
it's difficult to hold down a job, but also, and people do it, but it is difficult because
and also, as an international student, with our visa, we were not allowed to get a job like outside Berklee. If I was to get a job, it was only within Berklee. So that made it way harder. Like, I couldn't, like, teach Spanish or anything like that, or work at a cafe. That was not allowed. So I did work as much as I could, but it was like at the library, at the recording studio, those kind of jobs.
Okay. And do you think those added to the experience, or gave you something that, you could take away, if not musically, but, in terms of life or whatever?
I think they did. Just, I had never thought of that. Yeah. Well, when you choose a major, you start to socialize more with the people who are also in that major. But I guess when you work at, I don't know, at the front desk of the school or at the library, you do meet more people, which was one of the things that I loved about Berklee. And I'm super grateful about that. It was the international environment. Being from Colombia, I would have never imagined that my closest friends were going to be from India, from Palestine, from Greece, from Turkey, Argentina. That experience is amazing. It just opens your mind, and it's priceless, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I think even more so as artists, because you get introduced to so many different cultures, and that sort of seeps into how you work and how you look at things as well. So yeah, I can certainly see how priceless that is. But in terms of coming back to, because I know that you were for your short film, because previously you worked as a sound designer and composer. You made the leap to film directing. So when did you feel that you needed to make that leap? And let's talk about that, and then I definitely have more questions about that.
So, when we study film scoring, we have to watch so many movies. So you have to learn about how other people have done how other people have composed or approached composing music to support that specific story. And every single movie is so different, and the way you approach it is so different. So I just watched so many movies that I ended up falling in love with the idea of directing. And I just felt like I wanted to tell stories, but I just didn't know how. Yes, when you compose, you tell a story also, but people can interpret that story in a different way when all they see is all they hear is music. So I just wanted to explore, I thought, I'm young. If I don't do it now, when am I going to do it? So I just decided to go for it. I couldn't afford going to university again and get a major, in film studies. But I just read so many books. I just watched so many tutorials, because that's something that is so valuable now. Like our generation, everything is online. Everything. Yeah. If you're really curious, everything is there. So I just learned so much from watching other people's work and how they did things. And so I just decided to take a little super short course on filmmaking. And that's how I ended up, actually filming my first short film and just going for it. It was the first time I wrote a script, first time I directed, first time I edited one of my works, and it was, I guess it was an amazing experience, honestly, because since I haven't gone to film school, I don't know how it is, how it works, the experience you get from it, what you learn, but this was just, I don't know if I would have learned the same at film school that I did. I guess it's just different, a different way of learning.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from someone who has gone to film school and again has a very similar experience as you, as like, being born and brought up in Pakistan and then, going to the West again on a scholarship because of the exchange rate, wouldn't be able to. The international, international student body that is at any film school now, that really does give you, it's an eye-opening experience. It gives you a lot of experience in terms of how you meet other people and what their experiences are, and then you take that and it makes you a bit more sensitive to what is around you. I think that that's priceless. So
it is.
Definitely, one can never say what works. For artists, there are people who who've gone to film school and who haven't made quote unquote good movies, but on the other hand, you have people who haven't gone, but they're masters in their own right. So how you approach the subject really depends on you. But I really enjoyed La Caza. It was there's a sensitivity to it, to that movie. And do you think that comes through because you're a musician? You have to have that sensitivity.
You mean in filmmaking, or?
Yeah, well, to the story itself, like to that particular story, because there's that subject was dealt with in a very sensitive way. There's not just because it's about this woman who stands up for something that very few women in that situation probably would have been. Do you think that comes through because of your years as a composer and and working with music?
I guess it might. It's hard for me to look at it from objectively since I felt the whole thing, but it probably does. I guess it's just whatever you experience in your life, everything you study, you end up using. You don't know when you create something, where are you taking things from?
Yeah.
I guess that, so looking at it that way, I guess music helped. Also, when I was doing this, some people asked me, what came first, the story or the music or the sound? I don't even know, to be honest. As I was writing the story, the script, I could hear the music. So not exactly note by note, but I knew what kind of mood I wanted, and the feel. I could see like fog color, like gray colors, just because I was trying to get inside that woman's mind. So the whole time I knew that what I wanted to create with the picture, with the photography, with the sound design, and with the music, I just wanted to create an atmosphere. And I guess yes, perhaps music helped. I don't know if how another person who's not a musician would have approached that story. I guess I'll never know.
Well,
But
I think because that's after you're done with something, after you edit it, after you put it all together, I think it becomes there's this dichotomy because it's your story because you told it, but it also belongs out into the world, so it becomes
yes,
someone else's story after they watched it and how they experience it. But it's funny that you actually brought up, because I was going to be my next question, like what comes first, but I guess you already answered that.
I never know. Yeah, I wish I knew. And it's never the same. Whenever you start, whenever I start composing, I talk for myself. I don't have a process. I really, it's different every single time. Depends on the story. Some stories just trigger something in you that's personal, and that makes it way easier. Some other stories you have to find something to connect with them. So it's so different.
True. So what's your in terms of training, do you think that has helped you as a filmmaker? Because I have again talking about tutorials, there's
Yeah.
so many, and you end up listening to so many people online, but something that sticks, and I think that one thing that has stuck with me is the the connection between film and music in terms of how notes are and how people respond to certain things. Because if it's all on the same scale, it's going to be flat, you're not going to enjoy it, but there needs to be this rhythm. Has your formal training in music helped you, especially in terms of because you spoke about editing for the first time, but it doesn't show like it's done by someone who's done edited for the first time,
Thank you. I think it does help, just because whenever you write music, or and even someone who doesn't have a like formal training in music, if you pick up guitar and you play a few chords that somebody taught you and you don't even know what you're playing, your goal or what you're trying to do is to feel something, right? To convey an emotion, to just transmit something. We all do that. If we are artistic, right? If we choose an artistic career. But I guess with composing, and especially with film music, the techniques I learned there's many techniques I learned that can help you help you convey that emotion and reach that emotion. I think that does help me did help me with directing, and like with seeing the whole story, like I try to stand in the director of the cinematographer's point of view. How would he understand my story? I just talked about emotions the whole time, what we're supposed to feel. And I guess, yeah, that's the one thing I think that has helped. And the way we're, in music, we're very disciplined, right? We're very focused. If you want to play an instrument, you have to be disciplined. If not, you're not going to get better. I guess that did translate into filmmaking for me, because when I was trying to build that story, I had that mindset. I did it in a very short time. The whole thing was done in 6 months or so, from getting the idea to to just start distributing the short film. I guess I had to do it that way because I'm trained to compose fast and to reach emotions fast. So yes, I think that's it.
Wow. So 6 months from writing to
Yes.
finishing and distributing.
Yes.
Wow. And in terms of scoring for movies, commercials. I've seen stuff you've done for like a tourist spot, which
Oh, right, yeah.
yeah, I mean that was in itself was such a rich story because it kept asking you questions about what what you can do.
Yes.
Um, is there any difference that you see in terms of like those two or three different ways of approaching a story, or is it pretty much the same for you, just the duration in for what
You
you have to
mean
produce?
you mean writing for commercials or movies
Yeah,
or
yeah,
spots?
yeah.
Hmm. They're all different in a way. I mean, well, I guess the similar thing is I'm there to serve the director. If it's a commercial or a spot, you have to please not only the director but also the agency,
Hmm.
right? So, but I'm there just to help, to serve what they want, the brand, or if it's a short film or a documentary, is to help the story. So, in that way, they're all the same. But I guess when it comes to short films, documentaries, feature films, you do have an opportunity to connect more with the director. There's more, yeah, there's a bit more time, like you get the script, you get a feel of the story. With commercials, it's more, they're thinking about selling, right? So
Hmm.
as even if they tell me, we don't care about what kind of music you do, we just want to sell, make sure it sells. I understand that, but still, for me, there has to be emotion. I have to tell a story. If not, it doesn't make sense. You could just throw in library music that was not made for that specific spot or commercial or short film or whatever. Um, so yeah, they're. I mean, at the end, we're helping to tell a story. So that's the similar thing.
It's interesting that you brought up about libraries of for film scores and stuff like that. That's not something I even thought about. So it's how do you feel about those? What's I mean, obviously everything has its own advantages and disadvantages, but how for from a film composition score perspective, how do you look at them? And
At library music, you mean?
yeah.
Um, I think library music is great, and it's another way of having some income, and it's great for some people who don't have the budget, because it's a reality. You don't always have the budget to hire a composer. You don't, so you have to go to library music, and I think it's great that's there. But I think it's just like buying clothes, right? You go to a store, you try it on, it fits, right? I mean, if it works for you, it works for you. It's not the
Hmm.
same as having something tailored for you, done for you. It's never going to be the same. I mean, that's very superficial, comparison. But I do see sometimes that some directors use library music in their short films or documentaries, and I see perhaps nobody sees it, and I see it because it's what I do. I see that it's not hurting the story, but you see how much it loses strength and
Hmm.
meaning just because that person who wrote that music was not thinking about that particular story that the director is wanting to tell. So I've had great occasions in which I've worked with composers who wanted to use library music, and they've asked me like, "Hey, do you think it works?" And I say, "Well, what depends. Yes, it works, but it's not helping the story." And they asked me like, "Would you be interested in working, like composing music for my story or for this specific documentary?" and I show them, I say, yes, sure, and I write it. And you can tell how they just had not imagined what it would sound like with original music, completely tailored for them, for that story. And it just takes a completely different direction, or dimension. It just becomes more cohesive, more coherent. Like all the pieces just fit together simply because we're taught many tools to make sure we connect with the story. So I think it's always better to, if you can afford it, if you have the time. There are so many talented composers that can help you with your story. And we don't know, some people say, yeah, but the budget, well, just talk to them. You never know. Some people might really like your story, and they might want to, give you a discount, or I don't know. Every single composer works differently. But it's also the process of collaborating with the director is amazing. You start discovering how your story starts taking life. So it's great. I strongly recommend it.
And do you think your collaboration with different directors over the years, has that helped you in your process as a filmmaker?
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, it's good that you bring that up. Yes, absolutely. It's helped me a lot because you learn. One thing that I've learned is by directing now. Now that I have directed my own story, I can totally relate to them. Right? I've been in their shoes, so I understand how you have this thing as a director, and if you're not the one who edits, composes the music, does the sound design, so much of it is not in your control, right? You have to trust so many people, and it's so difficult to convince people to put the energy into your work, the same energy that you are putting into your work. So now I understand them. When they get frustrated with something, I'm like, I get you. I've been there, so I try to understand, to empathize a bit. But also, working with directors has helped me, understand that there's not one way of doing things, because every single director is different. No matter what they taught me at Berklee, no matter what you read online, the advice that you read, it's never the same with that director. Mm-hmm. Some directors have had no formal training in film, but they have this amazing idea, and they don't know how to communicate with the composer. Then it's kind of my job to also become like a psychologist in a way, like try to read what is it that he or she is trying to tell me. I've worked with a director before. She's amazing. She gives me references, but sometimes, like, I know she's giving me references, but she also trusts me enough that she tells me, if you feel like taking a completely different path, direction, just do it. And that trust is great, but I can't expect every single director to behave like that. Some other directors are so sure and specific about what they want. They throw a temp track that is, sounds like Hans Zimmer, and that's all they want. So it's my job to find a way to please them and make the story work with whatever I can do. But yeah, so you see, I've learned so much from every single experience, and I think I still have to learn a lot from the experiences that I hope are going to come.
Speaking of experiences, in terms of, because you've obviously, we spoke about you going to Berklee.
Yeah.
What do you think is the single most important experience you got from that? And, moving forward to directing, what is the single most experience you think you got from that you would want to pass on to someone who's listening to this discussion?
From Berklee or from?
Both, because you have people who are obviously interested in music, but also movies. So I just want to touch both bases here.
I guess there's not just one experience. I think the one thing that you always have to keep in mind is, even if you're directing film or if you're composing, and I know I'm still young, so, and I'm still learning, but we have to stay humble, and sometimes it's hard not to stay humble for some people, but we have to remember why we are doing what we're doing, be it music or be it film, or if you want to be just I don't know, whatever it is you want to do. I see so many people getting trapped on, for instance, if they do music, they get trapped on the technology aspect of it. Like, look at this plugin and this great hardware and this amazing library and expensive little thing that I did here. Well, you can use all of that, and that's amazing that, those are tools. But at the end, your music has to speak to somebody. It has to have, you gotta transmit an emotion. You have to. So if all those tools are helping you, great. But if you stay, you're just stuck in the technology aspect and for instance, if you're directing, all you care about is the expensive camera and the equipment, and you just want to use that light because it's cool and because it looks amazing. Well, yes, but is it supporting the story? So I think what I've gotten from my experiences is that I try to remember that, and that's what I tell my students. Even I always tell them that, some of them feel like, yeah, I want to be a musician, but I can't afford a studio and I can't afford whatever. I'm like, do you have something? Just do it. Pen and paper. Start there. It's fine.
So it all, I agree. It all has to be at the service of the story.
Yeah. Always.
So my last question is going to be, the pandemic is 1.5 years now. We're into that. What's been keeping you sane? How have you been sort of been motivating yourself, and what's next for Amy Farjado?
Well, I have to admit that I was very lucky to have work during the pandemic. So on that, I'm very grateful. But I had projects that didn't work out. They just fell. They didn't happen. But fortunately, since I've studied different things, photography, sound design, sound post-production, music composition, when something doesn't work, fortunately, I grab the other thing and I try to make it work. So the one thing that I did, because even if I had work, our lives changed completely. So it was hard to stay, as you might have work, but you have to be mentally okay, right?
Yeah.
So the one thing I did was I started doing my own videos with stock video. I started, I thought, okay, I can't hire a crew right now to tell story, I can't do it right now. So what can I do? So I just started using stock footage, which was not that easy, actually. And I just tried to build stories. I did like little 24-hour challenges. I did it for myself. I was like, okay, 24 hours, what can you do? So I tried to choose footage, edit it in a way that sort of tells a story, do the sound design, and write music under 24 hours. And that actually kept me motivated. I ended up, realizing, wow, I can do this. That really helped me.
Wow. That's that's something I think a lot of people should look into. I mean, I know I should look into. At least, it keeps your skills intact, especially with editing.
Because especially with film, the one thing that I noticed, the difference between filmmaking and composing. Well, if you're composing music for film, you depend on a film. You need to find a film. But if you're just writing music for the sake of writing music, you can just do it. You don't depend on anybody. But if you're a film director, you depend on so many people. So it's good to, you have to keep yourself active, your skills, because you forget even the shortcuts when you're editing. You know, if you don't have a project, you have to do something because we depend on it so much. So that for me worked really well. And what's next? I don't really know. No, well, I have a lot of projects right now. I'm working on a documentary and on a fashion film. I'm writing the script for my second short film, which I want to, it's a personal story, so I want to do it really well, and I still have a lot to learn. But well, I hope we can still make plans and nothing is gonna change them. So yeah, I don't really know what's next. I'm just gonna go with the flow and keep, working with whoever approaches me and wants to tell a story, and stay active.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks a lot.
I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us and give us all that insightful knowledge. I wish you the very best in everything that you're going forward. I can't. Thank you. I can't wait to watch that second short that's going to be coming out whenever it is.
Hopefully, I don't know when that's going to happen, but fingers crossed. Hopefully, I can
whenever
send it to your festival.
Yeah, I would. Definitely would love to watch it. Whenever movies are made, I think that's the right time when they're supposed to be made.
I guess, yes.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's the universe or whatever, but things fall into place, and
right.
Whenever that does happen, I'm sure it's going to be a great movie, and I can't wait to watch it.
Thanks a lot, and thank you so much for the support, for supporting my film and my career. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You have a great day, and stay safe, and keep doing the great work you've been doing.
Thanks a lot. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.